Hey everybody, this is Sherry Wynn. Welcome to Olympic Minds Leadership Beyond Limits. I'm your host, two-time Olympian, national championship basketball coach, award-winning speaker and author, and CEO of the Winning Leadership Company. This podcast is for the leader of leaders and the visionary of visionaries. It's for those leaders who want to go beyond mediocrity into mastery and beyond success into significance. This is not about theory. This stuff we're talking about today is going to be heart-tested, results-driven, and you're going to love it. I guarantee you, you're going to love what we're talking about today. My guest today is Nadya Rousseau. She's CEO and founder of Alter New Media. What I love about Nadya is that we met several years ago, and we've stayed in touch since then. Whether it's every month or every other month, we've had a continuing conversation where we get to share information. And what I've learned about her is she's truly authentic and she wants to help people. She's so purpose-driven. So purpose takes the precedence in her life. And so I'm going to let Nadya tell you a little bit about herself. Go ahead, Nadya.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me on the show, Sherry. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, I'm happy to chat a little bit about my background. So my name is Nadya Rousseau. I'm the founder and CEO of Alter New Media, and we are a purpose-driven visibility ecosystem serving disruptive and mission-driven companies and founders and creators with gaining more visibility, gaining more impact, and really making a space for themselves in their respective industries. To date, we've served a little over 1,000 companies. And so I guess it's been since 2018 would be like the first year of going ham with Alter. But over the years, we've definitely evolved more into a tech-driven ecosystem. Now we're exploring agentic. GPT is in like an everyday part of our business function, and we do a ton in the AI and Web3 spaces. So it's been an exciting journey. Now, if someone were to have asked me at like 5 or 6 or 10 or young age, were you going to be the founder of a tech-driven visibility ecosystem? I think my eyes would have glazed over and I would have walked away. And so,
So I know some of your background, Nadya. So you were a model for a little while. So how'd you get from being a model to being a CEO? That's quite a difference. I mean, I think it's a long journey. Maybe it's not, but tell us about that journey.
I think, obviously there is a difference, but at the same time, like if you are a model and actor, and modeling was really just an entry point for me to get into the acting world. But you really have to be a CEO of your time and energy if you are a model or an actor. It does require a lot of entrepreneurial skills in order to navigate the industry successfully and carve out your own opportunities and not wait for them to fall on your lap. Particularly in my case, because I was dealing with a lot of out of it and often flaky talent managers who were just like sending me random like Russian spy or like hot chick roles, and I was not intellectually stimulated by that originally.
What?
I know, like, okay. Originally I was going to go to the NYU School of Journalism, but, due to the parentals wanting me to stay in state, they were like, no, go stay in state. I'm like, nah, I don't want to be in state. I grew up in Maryland. I decided to pursue the modeling and acting stuff full time, ended up moving to LA where I was for 14 years. But I got burned out on the modeling and acting space, not just because of the Russian spy or hot chick role opportunities, but just because it wasn't fulfilling my purpose. And I think at that time, I didn't really have clarity on what my purpose was until I decided to transition out of that world more into freelance journalism. Was always into writing, clearly, if I was trying to go to NYU School of Journalism. And I started interviewing people. And I had 2 interviewees who were in the health food space, and they were like, please help get us on Twitter. I'm like, okay, like, why do I need to get you on Twitter? Like, why do you want to be on Twitter? And then I realized that they were trying to reach new audiences, and I wasn't really thinking about it as like a career. I was just happy to help them. And, an opportunity to leverage storytelling in a new modality was certainly exciting for me. And then we found that it was successful. And by we, I'm referring to my co-founder and wife, Lauren, who was collaborating with me at that time as well. So this was like 2013. So it just kept evolving. Alter New Media was initially established as a digital production company for an online TV series I was producing and hosting called Nadya's Identity Files. So I was definitely deep in the interview space, but also dabbling on freelance social media work. So I just converged the two worlds around summer 2017, and it wasn't until top of 2018 that we really had that momentum get started. And now, we've generated multiple seven figures in revenue, served over 1,000 clients, and we're keep going.
So what's the biggest thing you had to learn? So you said, you were learning things about, while you're modeling and being an actor, you're learning these things about entrepreneurship. And you were saying, this is like my first step toward learning. So what was it that you learned? What's the biggest lesson that you learned that helped you navigate this new role?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest thing is taking initiative. Well, two big things, initiative and resilience. So, resilience in the face of hearing no and being okay with hearing no and just continuing to keep on going. The
Mm.
other initiative, not waiting for opportunities to fall on your lap. When I was really dabbling in social media opportunities, I also was interning for a, how do I describe him? He was like a consultant in the social sector. And, I was like, all right, I'll do this internship, even though I didn't say like I'm above an internship, even though I had already done all of these things. I was like, I'm going to just keep taking initiative and see where this leads me. So being willing to do that, it's so important, like having that tenacity. Like you can't just wait for things to come. If things are slow, which they have, this has been a year and a half of a lot of ups and downs. I think we've all been feeling that across industries. You have to be open to pivoting and being uncomfortable. And let me tell you, like acting and modeling, like you will be feeling uncomfortable a lot. And so that definitely primes you for being able to navigate those feelings as an entrepreneur.
I think that one of the hardest things I think that for a lot of people is you're going to face two things. One is failure. You're going to see a lot of failure, right? And the other is you're going to get a lot of no's. So somewhere in the background, somewhere in our history of a person like you, like me, we have to be able to overcome the failures because they're going to happen. And we have to be able to overcome the no's. So what's behind that? Like, what is it that lets you drive beyond the no's and the failures? What would you call that? Do you have a philosophy? Do you have a belief system? What enables you to move forward? Because in entrepreneurship, there are going to be a lot of failures because you're going to try things, you're going to hire people, you're going to do things, and some of them are just failures. I mean, if I could take all the money back that I invested into people, into coaches, into things, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'd be a multimillionaire almost. Not really, but it feels that way. So what's the belief system or philosophy that you have behind these failures and behind the no's that keeps you going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that like you have to be very clear on what your vision is and your purpose and having a reason, like a why to keep going. If you don't have a clear why or a purpose or some like value set, some foundation, like whether that be like spiritual, faith, just some frameworks to keep going beyond and past those, like you're not going to make it. And like in part, I think I didn't want to keep going hearing the no's in modeling and acting because I wasn't as passionate about it as I thought I was as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I know, like, cause I mean, I moved to LA in 2006 on a 3-year contract, and it was probably by around 2012, 2013 that I decided to pivot more closely to freelance journalism. Like, honestly, like, that's not that many years. Like, I know people who did not get their big break for like 10, 15 years. I mean, I got into SAG, I got on shows like Ugly Betty, Entourage, Californication, almost all the CSIs. But, like I didn't consider myself as having made it, but I didn't wasn't passionate enough to keep going. Like I didn't feel stimulated, like it wasn't there. And so I think when I saw the positive impact that I had on those two health food entrepreneurs and how it was like helping them help other people through creating these stories, leveraging the online space, I was like, oh, like that feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when I was doing my online interview series, Nadia's Identity Files, it felt really good to expose stories that would not otherwise get told. So, like now, I see like tech, media marketing, these are tools to help drive my mission forward of transformation, I believe as CEOs, like we have the power to transform ourselves,
Mhm.
our businesses, our communities, and our culture. And so I just want to keep pushing that forward, whether through written material, through the businesses that, I help build, through my own company. Just that's kind of where I'm at.
So tell me, you said transformation. I think this is an important piece, right, of us. So when we're working in as the core of a CEO of our own company or whatever we're doing, the big piece is still us. The big piece
Hmm.
behind everything else is how are we transforming us because we can't give what we don't have. So looking back at your transformation, what is the biggest transformational thing you had to do to get you to where you are today?
I think it was, I mean, there's been a lot. I don't know if I can really pin it down to one thing, but I've been looking at transformation, particularly for CEOs and for myself, across three pillars of personal, professional, and community-based transformation. And I think it's cyclical. So one really feeds into the other. And on the personal side, it was, some people call it shadow work, other people call it, just sitting with your shit, more or less. And I was like really trying to look at and examine certain patterns and where they came from and being willing to do the hard work of like working through that. And also daily gratitude, but gratitude without doing those other things, it's only going to get you so far. And over the last year, I've also deepened my faith as well. So I've incorporated more spirituality and faith into my daily practice.
Right. I think that the whole idea of looking into ourselves, right? That's the scary part. I mean, it's scary because you have to see the parts of yourself you don't like. And
Hmm.
most of us try to ignore those. We kind of cover them up if we can put them in a compartment, if we can put them somewhere else. But that's the true work. It's looking at who you are, how you're showing up in the world, and what is it about yourself that you really love, and what is it about yourself that you need to change
Right.
so that you can love yourself more, right? Because I think the big piece that most people fail at is that unconditional self-love. If we don't love ourselves, we certainly cannot love other people. Like there's no place that we can start to love anybody else. So looking back at your
Exactly.
yeah, so the work you had to do. So what was the biggest, when you're looking in the mirror and you had to look at yourself and you're like, oh, Nadia, what was the thing that looked back and you're like, oh, this is the piece that really needs to shift? What was that piece?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it was some level of imposter syndrome. Of course, like there's still moments of that. I think there always will be because, we're human. But it was also like scarcity issues or just kind of certain like reflexive actions that for sure stemmed from issues in childhood that I had to kind of connect the dots and realize like where do I
Mhm.
break those, but also boundaries. Like boundaries is a big one. And like all of these issues kind of interconnect, but not letting myself just help and support and be there for others at my own expense. I still deal with this sometimes. There are still tests that come up,
Mhm.
periodically. And I'm like, okay, do I want to give in because I just want to make this work? Or do I want to stay firm in my boundaries and accept, like, if it doesn't work, at least I'm staying true to my boundaries and myself, and then the right thing will come, even if that means that there could be a gap in revenue or letting go of a team member or distancing myself from a family member who's toxic, like, whatever the case.
Yeah, those are hard. Those are hard lessons. I mean, and what I think one of the things I thought I heard you say is that you see these repeated actions, right? So these repeated life patterns.
Mhm.
And that's the start. Like when we know, and you can't do this when you're young. I mean, because you haven't had enough life yet to see the
Right, to
repeated
even
life.
see it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can't see it yet. And then all of a sudden, you're 35 or whatever, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, wow, this keeps happening to me. So anytime it keeps happening to us, it's not just like we're bad luck or, the world's
Right.
against us.
It's not by mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a big part in that. And so uncovering those, so how did you, looking back at your life patterns, did you learn that because you journal or are you good at self-reflection or what happened to allow you to get to that point where you go, oh, wow, like this keeps repeating, like it keeps coming back in my life. Stop it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that there certainly have been some moments, like some dark moments of like, oh, like shit, like why is this happening? Like I don't want to be in this position, like what, and then I start kind of like tracing it back, like, well, this decision was made and that, like, and then just kind of trying to understand like the why behind these moments and then getting even deeper with it and then like kind of letting that be that opportunity for self-examination. But I do have a daily gratitude practice where every single day I will do my gratitude, my affirmations, and my intentions. I've been doing this now for a little over 2 years,
Mhm.
but I have deepened the practice now with Bible study and prayer as well. So, as I mentioned, I've deepened my faith and my spiritual practices. And
Mhm.
then I also have just kind of started the day just like brain dumping, like whatever has come out.
Mhm.
And, just another thing, people are going to be like, what? Like, how is that possible? I have been using ChatGPT as kind of my sounding board when I feel like something is coming up. And like, I will often like give it pictures of my journaling and help me dissect things further. And I've been
Wow.
doing that for a good 2 years. And it's really helped open my eyes to different things. No lie.
That's, I mean, that's one of the things I think that I love most about you is that you're willing to do something that nobody else has done yet, right? Or you're willing to go into something and look at it, examine it, try it, figure it out if it works, and then you're like, wow, this does work. I mean, you're just
Mhm.
asking basically chat to reflect on what you've written and to give you some insights
Mhm.
around what you've said. So it's the same thing a coach does, right? It's the same nuances that a coach might be able to see, but it feels, I
Exactly.
don't know, I want to say it feels safer kind of in a way because you know that you and chat are having the conversation and that hopefully chat's not judging, right? Where if I were talking to somebody, I might be holding back because like, oh, are they going to judge me? Are they not going to judge me? What are they going to think about me? And so, but with that
Right.
scenario, it seems like you're able just to be a lot more open, a lot more freer without any
You're able
concern.
to be very open. And of course, so I have custom configured a GPT called my Clarity Architect. And that is something I'm serious. Like you can, that's why I love configuring custom GPTs. So I've configured it to be supportive for life and business matters and understanding how those might intersect and having some context on my background. It's helped me navigate through, some very hard times. So obviously, if you custom configure a GPT to be more familiar with your pre-existing issues or how you want it to come across, like that's the way to go, as opposed to just opening up a chat blindly and just being like, what do you think of this? Now I guess, for something as simple as like a recipe, like, hey, like, what do you think of dark chocolate chips versus milk? Like that's something you can just open like a random like chat, or like give me a quick like gluten-free bread recipe or something. But when it comes to something more intense, whether for you or for your business, like custom GPT configuration is huge. AI is a game changer.
Well, so you have to put, so for people who don't know, like when you put custom GPT, you have to fill background information. You got to put in a knowledge base. So
Correct.
they know, so chat knows who you are. So you put in your knowledge base of if you had
Right.
journals or, put in knowledge base of books or whatever you have. Uh,
Whatever it is that you
whatever it
want.
is.
So, I mean, like, for example, they could theoretically configure a GPT to mirror someone like Tony Robbins. Like, I want you to coach me with the tone and the approaches that are commonly utilized by Tony Robbins, and these are my issues, blah, blah, blah. You can do whatever you'd like. It also, of course, works great for business. We've had all of our team members configure custom GPTs, like their own GPT assistants, and then if we're working a particular client or event, we custom configure that just so it has the frameworks to be successful.
Wow. There's so much going on. So let's kind of like, in your role, there's so much going on that you can do with AI, right? So for and businesses who are not engaging AI are not going to be businesses within the next 6 months or a year. I mean, I think I can clearly say that. So in your business, what do you think is the biggest use of AI that you're doing is going to make the biggest impact? Is it what you just said, or is it creating these agentic AI agents that can do work for you? What is it that you feel like is going to be the biggest game changer in AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Like there's a new innovation in AI like every single day. And I think some people who fear AI, they should understand that AI right now is really just a bunch of fancy algorithms. it really is just math. It is not autonomous. Even with agentic, it's still being programmed through like algorithms just in a manner that's more complex and more self-sustaining than like your typical Gen AI tool. So in our case, like we're getting ready to launch what I'm going to call an innovation lab, like an in-house innovation labs. We have some AI-driven solutions that we want to house under that umbrella. For example, our Purpose Link AI, which is an automation, like kind of lead generation service that it's good, it works very well, but we're more excited about our publicist in a box. Like we're going to be we custom configure GPTs already to fulfill support for people who get publicists in a box, which in short is a productized PR solution for people who want more visibility, people and companies, that will guarantee media, but also support custom pitching for both media placements as well as strategic partnerships. So we are going to take what we've been doing in-house and start figuring out a way to support boutique publicists as well as boutique PR firms with the development of these GPTs, with the goal of this kind of being the foundation for moving into agentic or moving that into a SaaS solution. And so that's one element that's under the innovation lab, as well as thinking about, to your point, there's some businesses who are not doing GPT or anything with AI yet, and they want to, but maybe they're scared or they don't understand. And so we're going to deploy a AI-focused social media solution that will, hopefully one day be like self-serve so people can learn how to configure their own GPTs. But in the beginning, we'll configure GPTs for them so they can use that in their businesses and save time and money, or, we'll also offer implementation of that, of course. So just different things. I mean, our big vision for A&M is to really evolve into a next-gen holding company at the intersection of purpose and profit across these three pillars of tech, media, and marketing, and, eventually getting into more acquisitions. So we're definitely excited for where we're going, and, we are definitely looking for investment in the near future as well.
Wow. So let me ask you this question. So you and your wife work together, right? So you're co-owners,
Yes.
you're co-owners of the company. So, that's got to be challenging to have to live together, to work together. It's like you are around each other all the time, literally all the time. So how have you guys navigated that? How have you been able to make that work? Do you have any principles, any ground rules, any things that allow you to make that piece work for you?
It has been very fluid for the most part. I do think we probably could benefit from some more ground rules just around like when we turn things off. I think we've gotten better about that though, because, I've become such an early riser that, invariably like she can't wake up like that much later than I do. So as a result, she's not going to bed that much later than I do. But, I think in general, we work very well together. I think she's very creative, very strategic. I am both creative and strategic and very operational oriented. I think our working styles complement each other. I do think that we could benefit from having more like standing meetings with each other to go over stuff. And sometimes it just bleeds into everything though. I think that can be the biggest challenge where it's like, work stuff, it just bleeds into everything. Like we're driving somewhere and then we're talking about like a crazy client, or just like a team member who's like irritated us instead of being, more aware of needing to shut it off. But, I think for the most part, we're very blessed because we get along together very well. This is not our first time working together. Like not long after we met, we were working together at Izod. Shout out to Izod. Back when I was like, we were living in Hagerstown, Maryland briefly after trying to do California and it didn't work out there. So then we ended up back in Maryland. And so I was like the floor supervisor and she was working there. And then we worked at Citigroup together. And then we worked at like, I don't know, a collection agency together and fundraising, sometimes in different departments, but we've been working together for a long time.
Wow. So what is the thing that holds you guys together, right? I mean, I know that you're both strategic. I know you're both brilliant. I've talked to both of you and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're so brilliant. Like you're both have probably IQs off the chart somewhere. But what is it
Oh, thank you.
that holds you guys together, right? I mean, there's got to be something that you find is really the glue behind that, because I mean, there's challenges and you got to have different thought. Like you can't agree on everything. There's no possibility.
No, we definitely do not agree on everything. We used to be more impatient with each other when we disagreed. And I think now, like, we're able to kind of take a step back and listen to each other's thoughts and just kind of come to a central agreement. Of course, there's still those moments where there's like, invariable frustration. And I think where it can become challenging is in those moments of frustration about work. It's like, we need to remember that in that context, like, we are co-founders, we're not married partners. Like, so that's where sometimes that can be hard because it's like, it feels so personal, but it's like, it shouldn't be personal. Like, we can take that away from, that moment and just be co-founders who are trying to work something out. But, it never devolves into like an insane, like, shouting match or anything like that. I think for both of us, we came from similar traumatic childhoods with a lot of emotional neglect and similar weird, like, issues in our households. We met when we were teenagers online across thousands of miles. So, like, we have built a very strong bond. And even though we briefly broke up, never thought we'd speak again. Incidentally, what I would say is that work is what brought us back together, brought us back as friends, as then girlfriends, and then led to our marriage, and of course, continuing to grow the company together.
Wow. So, in all of this, like, you've got the partnership at home, in the office, and through that, I'm assuming that you've had to learn some communication tools that would have helped you not only with one another, but with your team members that you have. I mean, so one of the things I've seen as I've coached people and as I've worked with companies is their lack of communication. They just have really poor communication skills, right?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Oh, yeah, they do. I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, you just mentioned it, most of us have gone through some sort of dysfunctional family scenario. Even if our parents loved us, even if they loved one another, there's still some dysfunction in that. And most of the dysfunction came because of lack of the ability to communicate. Mm-hmm. So, I often ask people in seminars, I will say to them, how many of your parents, when you're growing up, they would sit down at a table and they go something like this: hey, honey, I really want to talk to you about this. Let's figure out a pathway forward. I want to hear a solution. Let's work this out together. How many of your parents would do something like that? So let's say there's 1,000 people sitting in a room. 3 people might raise their hand. 3.
Wow.
In most scenarios, it's 0, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do is we learn from our parents, and our parents are poor communicators. I mean, they do things like, they need to be right, I'm right, you're wrong, period. Or the blame game, it's not me, it was you, you're the one who did it, blah, blah, blah. Or it's the temper tantrum, they get mad, they stomp out the room.
They don't want to have nuance. I mean, we're seeing this on the global stage. We're seeing this everywhere. There's no interest in nuance. It's either you're right, you're wrong, I'm here, you're there. There's nothing. There's very little middle ground.
Right. So how do you learn? I mean, what was it that you learned in communication, or the two of you learned in communication, to help you not only with each other, but in your communication with your team, so that you have that connection? Because most errors come from lack of communication. Most problems come from that lack of communication.
Yes. It's definitely an ongoing thing, because even as we aim to foster a culture of open communication, of transparency, of warmth and respect, people still withhold, and they still want to maintain a passive aggressive type of mentality. And so even as we try to coach them out of that, it might still continue on. And at some point we have to decide, is it worth keeping this person on who doesn't want to rise to the occasion and be a better communicator and be less passive aggressive, even as we're trying to coach them out of these behavioral patterns? And so, like, the answer, I just recently had to let go of somebody because of the communication was all over the place. There's just a lot of chaos. But, actually stayed the course for a while because I was really trying to work with them. And I feel like that's part of it, is if you can show, like, work with your team, like, you take so many times, like, to work with them. Yep. It's if, like, you're just like, they're a bad communicator. It's like, well, like, what? Like, why did you bring them on to the first? Like, you should have been able to. Sometimes you can't always tell because people will put on a face during an interview and then they will put on a face during the first 2, 3 months of employment and then it starts to devolve. But, I think now more than ever before, like really trying to figure out like what's the best way to evaluate like the character traits of the person. Like, I'd rather someone who has excellent character and maybe needs more training, but they're clearly willing to learn than someone who's purportedly skilled and like has terrible character. But when it's both, it's like, oh my God, like I can't.
So, well, yeah. So that, in my last book that I interviewed for Winning Business Secrets, what I discovered was when I asked people about, hiring high performers, so how do you, what do you hire for? And overwhelmingly, the people said, talent's not the first thing we look for. It's like attitude and coachability. We want to know, like, we think we can teach them. Like, they have to have a certain level of talent, right? I mean, you can't go in with that. You wouldn't want me to come into your technology, like you would not want me, right, in technology. But
like, yeah, coming in there like, what?
Yeah, I would be like, what do you do? Where's that? But you would say, oh my gosh, like she's got a great attitude. She's very coachable, and if she really wants to learn this, she could do it. And so people look for that coachability and that attitude. When they're hiring people, it's so essential. So what is it that you look for? Like, you're number one, you're hiring people, you've got people coming in, you're trying to hire for the right culture fit, for the right attitude, for the right coachability. How do you know that? How do you figure that out?
It's honestly, I'm still working on that. Like, I've tried, it's been hard. Like, we're lucky that we've had, a few people who have stayed with us for, a good 2.5 years, the current group that we have. So they've been with us for a while. But I mean, there was a time where I really bloated up the team. I had like over 20 people on the team in 2022. You might recall this period. I went through so much money, time, energy. It was a lesson. It was a very difficult, like expensive, kind of at times demoralizing lesson. And I think now I'm still trying to figure out how to evaluate, like identifying the character. And because this is where some people get worried about GPT and just AI in general, it's like, how can people potentially like tap into that to almost mask their real intentions or their real character, So it's something I'm working on. And I'm a very compassionate, kind person who wants to save that. Like, I've had like savior complex issues that I've like worked through. So some people have joked like, you like to take in like strays and people that are just like, like don't seem like they would be a fit, but you want to like help them get there because you see their potential. So transparently, I'm still working through it.
Well, I think that's a beautiful thing about your leadership skills is that you're saying, hey, look, there are still things I need to work on. And I think look, I'm still working on me, and I'm a lot older than you are, and I'm still working on these things. And you're like, golly, I should have you should have learned this by now. Why am I still working on this? Why am I still struggling? But other things I know over the course of time, I'm like, man, I am such a better person. I'm such a better leader. I've really evolved, right?
Yes.
So part of this is knowing that we're never going to get it all done. Mm-hmm. And we find, and that comes to this idea of grace, right?
Exactly.
So learning, I think this is really important, is learning grace. And what you're talking about right there is like, I'm still working on it. And you're not beating yourself up. You're just like, I'm still working. It's something I need to know. I need to grow on. So that part of grace and leadership. And so what that means is your ability to really be in that forgiving place of whatever you messed up that day, or whatever what money you wish you could get back for investing in something that you thought was going to work and it didn't, whatever that is. So how did you learn to give yourself grace? Because you came up in a family that's really challenging, for you, and it would have been really easy to beat yourself up. Where did you learn grace, and how does that fit into leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely comes back to like those exercises and those reflections that, I've done every single day in my journaling practice. So I think that has certainly helped in just having a greater sense of self-awareness. Like over this last year, I've definitely deepened my relationship with God. And so that has certainly supported my ability to, give myself grace. But a lot of it is the self-awareness piece, and just, making peace with the fact that there's always going to be missteps, and just being willing to learn from them and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be missteps. We're going to make mistakes every single, like I just go, I'm going to make a mistake today somehow, some way, whether it's spilling orange juice on me or missing the last step or, stepping on my dog or,
no.
not
I feel like all those things are connecting.
Right. Whatever that is, I'm going to, but
Yeah.
I think the most important part is that, that ability to let go of what we've learned to do, which is give ourselves guilt and shame, which prevents us from being at the highest level possible.
Yes, and being willing to cut out people who want to keep you locked in an old cycle, whether that means like a full cut or just distancing yourself. Like, I've noticed that when you're really going through the healing journey, those tests of those types of moments or people will come out very intensely. And so, like, how you choose to react or not react is really crucial in how you continue onward with your healing journey.
Absolutely. And I think we all, so when I talk about healing journey, I think that every one of us, like I've worked with enough founders, enough CEOs, enough C-suite executives, without a doubt, every single person has trauma in their past, right? Everybody has trauma. This is just the pathway. The difference is people like you have learned and worked at the piece about self-forgiveness and moving forward, and even forgiving the people from your past, like not dredging up their stuff, because the more that we dredge up their stuff, the more we dredge up our stuff, and there's just no pathway forward. So, forgiveness for a leader is really important. My dad said something the other day, which cracked me up. He goes, I really believe in forgiveness. And then he paused and he goes, right after I get even.
Gosh. That's funny.
But he was joking, but I think there are a lot of people that's the truth. And so when we're not able to forgive ourselves or other people, it impacts us negatively in leadership.
Yeah, for sure. It's a journey. It's just accepting that it's a journey, and it's not like an open and shut thing is like probably the first step.
Yeah. So Nadya, if there's a question that I haven't asked you, if there's something that you want people to know that I haven't asked you, what would that be? What do you want to leave people with today? Some tad bit of wisdom that would really help them move their leadership forward.
Yeah, I mean, well, of course, like I'm always ready to highlight our tagline of purpose and profit should never be mutually exclusive. I think sometimes people misunderstand that, and they think I'm saying purpose before profit. And I absolutely am not, because without profit, you cannot drive your purpose forward. And without a clear and anchored purpose, you cannot be successfully profitable. So, for those people who are trying to build visionary brands and are either too entrenched on one side or the other, consider looking at the balance of the two, because it will take you farther for sure in your journey of growing that visionary business. But also, you got to be willing to look at yourself with some nuance and grace, as we've been talking about, and apply the same to your team and everything that you're working on. And something else, one last thing, is that has really helped me, because I used to really just see myself in the business as like there's one thing. And so if business is slow, well, there's something wrong with me. And so then I start to internalize the ebbs and flows of the business. So I've learned to create more of a separation and a boundary between myself and the business. Not all businesses, even if you have a big vision, is going to work out. And so that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or your purpose. It just means you might need to pivot. So it's very important to have a delineation between yourself and what your venture, whatever that is.
Cool. So Nadya, how can people find you? So if they're looking to, for some more marketing, for media, for any of the things that your company, Alter New Media, does, how can they locate you?
For sure. So you can follow me on IG, on Instagram at Nadya Rousseau. That's NADYA ROUSSEAU. You can also find me on LinkedIn by the same name. shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you and chat.
Awesome. This is another wrap up for Olympic Minds Leadership Beyond Limits. And folks, if you love this, please, please, please share this, subscribe to it, and remember, I'm Sherry Wynn of the Winning Leadership Company. Everybody have a winning day. Bye now.